Thank you so much for coming, Serena. We're very happy to have you on Data Talk. And I just want to start by asking you about your journey, your academic background, what you studied in college, and what brought you into loving the STEM career, and what led you to Altair.
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Um, so to start off, I would say that I think I've always had a natural curiosity in STEM and basically how things work. My dad said when I was little, I used to put quarters in the back of his computer so that I can watch him take it apart and take the quarters out. So I think I always had a natural curiosity to know how things worked. Um, and I went to high school and I was in the robotics team and I used to go to these STEM camps. One second, let me actually exit this out. I used to go to STEM camps in the summer and explore all of those different fields. So I think I've always been interested in it. My dad was in tech and really made sure that we were really good in math, and sciences and all that stuff. Um, so in college, I naturally, since I had a natural curiosity for computers, I took up computer engineering. But when I got into the field, like more into the core studies, I realized that's not really what I wanted to do. So computer engineering was more so of the hardware aspect of things. And I didn't get that fix of like how does a computer actually work? When a person is interacting with it, what is going on inside the computer? So I went to college and um, I actually went to Oakland University. I'm wearing a shirt right now. And at that school, they make you kind of explore all fields of engineering. So I took mechanical engineering classes, computer, electrical, all of that good stuff. And I took a coding class. And for some reason, that it just came naturally to me. Um, and I loved it. It was one of the classes that I didn't really struggle in. And for me, it cured that curiosity of like, how does this work? How do computers work? So my junior year, actually, I changed my major to computer science. And I thought that would be just a not that much of a change. But it actually added like 3 years to get my degree. But I knew it was going to be worth it because it was something I actually loved to
Mm.
do. Like in my free time, I was coding, I was looking up, learning other languages. Um, so that's how I became a computer scientist or a software engineer.
So
So, oh,
did
go
did
ahead.
you say that by switching over to computer science, you had to do an additional 3 years?
Yes,
That's a big move.
it was a huge move, and I actually talked to a couple people who were already in the field before switching. So I actually used to work this job called the Telefund, and I'm not sure if you ever get these calls from current students from your university, and they ask for money for the university. I
Totally.
used to work that job, yeah. And so they put me in the field where I called all of the ex engineers. So I took that as an opportunity to kind of like talk to them about what they were doing and what they were doing with their degrees. And I talked to a few computer engineers who said that I should change the software because that's where the industry is going. That's where a lot of the growth is. So at that point I was already taking the computer science classes and really feeling like this is what I wanted to do. So after I talked to my advisor, I was told that it's not an easy switch. It's a completely different field. But at the end of the day, I knew that that's what I really wanted to do, and I was very unhappy in my current major. So I don't regret it. It took a lot of extra time, but I don't regret it.
I love like how curious you are and that you actually use
Mhm.
like that job of like calling all of
Yeah,
these different alumni and like you actually
yeah,
use it almost like as mentorship for you.
yeah. It was definitely I was getting paid for mentorship to some extent.
Based on all of your, networking experience, and then like ramping up, your passion, and being able to decide that you wanted to go into software engineering, how did it lead you
Mhm.
into your current role at Altair? Like, what was that journey like? I noticed that shortly when you graduated from Oakland University,
Mhm.
you did land the role at Altair as a software
Yeah.
engineer.
It was actually pretty smooth, thankfully. So while I was at Oakland, I was interning at one of the big three here in Michigan. It's pretty typical for people from Oakland to just land a job in the auto industry. But after that internship, I knew I did not want to be there or just be in the auto industry. It was such a big company, and I feel like your work never gets seen, and it's just easy to get lost. So while I was there, I knew that I didn't want to work for a mega company like that. And I also explored opportunities in research. So I did undergrad research with the National Science Foundation and kind of learned that this isn't my route either. I want to implement more than think of things in a conceptual way. Um, and I actually had a friend who was interning at Altair, and she talked about how the experience that she was getting and how it was directly related to our field, and just the experience of her internship helped her a lot with the classes. So I looked into them and kind of saw that the work that they were doing is something I've never even seen before, but for some reason, it's applied to so many things that we're around. So I thought that that was a good way for me to be able to work on something that's practical and that's useful. So I applied. It was quite a process, and I got the offer. And right after graduation, I'll say a week later, I started at Altair.
That's super cool. Well, would you, if you were to go back in time like 4 years ago, um,
Mhm.
would you do anything different?
I think I would have started with, if I can go back to college, I would go straight into computer science. So I didn't have any knowledge of what coding was at all. The high school that I went to, there wasn't much of a STEM emphasis on anything. They were just like the general basic classes. Even though we had a robotics team, our team didn't have the resources to hire or to have someone teach us how to code. So they just outsourced that to someone. So I had no previous knowledge of what coding was or how to do that. So if I could go back, I would definitely start off with computer science because I feel like this is what I was meant to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Um, your advice for those who are just maybe finishing their computer science degree, looking to
Mm-hmm,
start their very first job,
mm-hmm.
and maybe some advice for them on like what to be looking for when choosing to work at a company.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good question. I say when you're interviewing at these companies, you're also interviewing them. What is your chemistry like when you are talking with the hiring manager? Do you have good chemistry? So the person that hired me is one of the closest people at my job to me. A great mentor. I learn a lot from him. So I feel like if you have that chemistry with that person, it most of the time will be a good thing. Um, and also just do your research on the company. I think we are sometimes so eager to just have a job right out of college, where a lot of people I know were pretty miserable with the company that they chose. So just do your research. There's so many resources out, like Glassdoor, or just look up reviews on what the company culture is like when you're searching for these jobs, because it really matters. It's not just about the pay or what you're going to be doing. It's more so about how are you feeling? Are you going to learn? Are you around people that will support you and give you resources to become better at your job? So all of those things are really important when you're looking.
Given
Mm-hmm.
that there's a lack of diversity in the STEM field, what type of advice would you give to someone who's interested in going into STEM, whether they're in high school and they're learning that they're really good in certain areas, and when they're in
Mm-hmm.
college studying? What type of advice
Mm-hmm.
would you give them? And have you ever felt that you were underestimated, given that you are a woman of color and
Mm-hmm.
in the STEM field?
So I actually mentor a robotics team. It's part of the same program that I was in high school, and there's a girl on the team who really reminded me of myself. And so what I try to do is just give her the same advice that I wish I would have had, and is to make sure you speak up and don't allow other people on the team or just in general to make you feel like your thoughts and ideas are not significant. I always tell her that she has a lot to offer, and her ideas count. So when they're in the competition and when they're planning the game plan, I want her to get in there and tell the team or tell the alliance what it is she thinks will be helpful. Because a lot of times I feel like our voices can just be pushed to the side, or we're often silenced or told to just kind of just like do what we tell you to do type thing. And also one of the things that I tell them is just, you have a place here, you know, you're here for a reason. So don't allow someone to make you feel like you're here because of XYZ. Like, you want to be on this team, you're performing well on this team. You wouldn't be on this team if, you know, you had nothing to offer. So you're here just like everyone else is here. So don't allow someone to make you feel like you don't belong here. And I feel like that is something that I have often felt, just being in this field, whether it was something that was done to me on purpose or just something that someone said to me that made me feel that way. Maybe they didn't mean it. But a lot of times, you know, we struggle to just have our ideals heard. And, you know, as a woman, a Black woman in this field, you don't know exactly what it is that they may be doing this against. You know, is it because I'm a woman, or is it because I'm Black, or maybe it's because I'm new to this field? It can be so many things, and we just get in our heads. And I'm really glad that, you know, one of my managers told me in my performance review that he wants me to speak up more. He wants me to share my ideas more, because I do have good ideas. So just having an ally of, you know, someone like that in my corner really helped me in this field.
That's fantastic. And we do know that you spearheaded a Black employee resource group at Altair. And we would like to know a little bit about that, and like what inspired you to do such a thing, and what has come out of having a Black employee resource group at Altair.
What started it was actually a couple of factors. So, you know, we've been working from home, dealing with this pandemic, and, you know, that was quite an adjustment. And, you know, we're not able to talk to our coworkers or our friends at work. And it started around the time the George Floyd murder occurred. And I remember just being at home, you know, trying to focus on work, but not really being able to, because I don't have anyone to talk to, or just, I feel like so much pressure, not pressure, but just, I felt really heavy, that I'm still expected to perform as if the world just wasn't on fire right now. It was really hard. And I remember reaching out to one of my friends at work. She's a Black employee as well. And just, hey, how are you doing? Like, how are you managing this? Like, it's hard to just act like nothing is happening right now. You know, I'm going into these meetings and having them put a smile on my face, and, you know, but I'm, you know, just stuck in between meetings. And you know, she felt the same way, and a couple of other employees felt the same way as well. And right around that time, our CEO put out a statement about how he wanted to, you know, drive change in the industry. He knows that, you know, the amount of Black employees in the industry is disproportionate, or even at Altair. And, you know, he wanted to do the work to change that. And it felt really good for someone on that level to address the issue. You know, we've never said anything to anyone at work, but, you know, it was perfect timing. So I remember at one of my old workplaces that they had an employer resource group for African American employees. So just knowing that was something that was done somewhere else, I felt like we can do this here. You know, just between us, you know, we knew that we needed each other to support and rely on each other through these times. And with the CEO putting out that statement, we wanted to work with Altair to bring that vision to life, to have a more diverse Altair, and, you know, work with him on the initiatives that he wanted to drive as well. So that's pretty much what formed it.
Yeah, and I think that's what you just said is super powerful. Like, it takes leaders to step up and make these statements to help create these movements. And I think that's been it's been pivotal during this season of COVID, as we've seen increased visibility of racism towards so many different marginalized communities. Obviously, the Black community, Asian American community.
Yes.
We're just seeing more and more the stigma, more hate that's out there. And I've been really happy to see more companies, more leaders speaking out against these issues, because it is like it's such a difficult time when we have our own community, our own employees are suffering during these periods.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, you have a meeting to go to, and I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious, like Serena, like as you've like been going through these various episodes, very painful experiences. Um, how are you managing like work, and how are you like able to go to these next meetings, or when do you know when to take a pause and like I can't go to the next meeting, I'm not feeling well?
Hmm. Oh, I mean, at first it was a struggle. I didn't know that that was a thing to take a break from the world, from work. But I have my employee resource group to rely on now. We have sometimes impromptu meetings where we just talk, about what's going on in the world. And also through this ERG, we've learned that we have a ton of allies in the company. There's a ton of people who support us and want to learn and want to be more aware of how to approach these conversations. Um, so I think that just having this group, and we have this discussion board where we talk about things or people can ask questions, and it's very open and honest. So I think having that really helps. Um, for me, it's just talking, talking to someone, get it out, get it off of me. And, just knowing that someone else is feeling the same way as me. Um, I think that that's what really helps. And then just not being afraid to take time off and to regroup and, just take some time off the internet, take some time off work and just, be okay with that. And I think, Altair has the type of culture where that's okay. My team members, they'll check on me, or just, hey, how are you feeling? You do want to talk about what's going on in the world. Again, just talking it out and knowing that people support me is the best thing.
Yeah, I'm curious about what have been some of the most kind of meaningful things people have done during this time to reach out to you, things that, because I know there's lots of people listening in who care
Mm-hmm.
for their Black colleagues but maybe not quite sure like what to say, how to say it. A lot of times people are scared to like say the wrong thing, and I know that does
Yeah.
come up quite a bit, but I'm wondering like maybe some things that have been meaningful to you, that things people have reached out to you and said to you that has helped you during this time.
So before even the ERG or the statement from the CEO, my managers just wrote me via Teams and said, "Hey, how are you doing?" That was the biggest thing, because even if you don't know enough to know about what's going on, just acknowledging it and not acting like nothing is going on, because this affects me a lot more than it may affect someone else. Um, and I've caught myself that like trying to do that as well, with the attack on the Asians that are going on right now. Just, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do? Do you want to talk about it, or how can I help? I just think being open to helping or just talking is the biggest thing that you can do right now. I don't think anyone expects you to be 100% knowledgeable or woke on the topic. I don't think that that's an expectation, but just reaching out can be the best thing that you can do.
I want to go into the idea of diversity in STEM and solving that issue, tackling it. I know that you are very passionate about increasing
Mm-hmm.
representation in these fields, and I just want to know what is your take on diversifying this field and possibly getting younger generations of people
Mm-hmm.
of color interested.
I think it's a necessity. I think that so many people have different perspectives, and when you come up from a different background, you bring a different perspective that may not even be at the table at the moment. So that goes back to my manager telling me that you have good ideas. You need to speak up. Um, and it's really important that we have diversity because of that. We have these AIs that or this facial recognition technology that's made by one race or one type of people, and they leave out the perspective of different people that may have a different skin color or have a different set of eyes or things like that. So diversity in tech, since it is kind of just taking over the world is diverse, so we need diversity in what's making hat. Um, and if I could tell someone who wants to be in tech, I would just say to just keep at it. Especially for women or minorities, you're going to get thrown off of your path a lot. I had an advisor in college tell me that he didn't think that I could succeed in STEM and to change my major. And I did for, a semester. It's just things like that are going to happen. But just knowing that, I knew that if I was to not get in the field or to allow someone to stray me off of that, I was going to just be unhappy forever. I knew in my heart that STEM or being an engineer is something I wanted to do. I've known since the 7th grade. So if you have an interest in it, you can succeed at it because that's all it takes. When you're doing something that you love to do or you have an interest in, all the problems that you're going through at work, all the problems that you're working on projects, it's actually fun. I get stuck on a problem and I'm thinking about it night and day, and it doesn't consume me because it's something that I love to do. So, just don't allow someone to stray you off the path that you want to be on, just because they don't see you in it.
100%. I think it's really important for everyone to follow their dreams no matter what's going on, despite adversity. That's very, very inspirational. And with that being said, I'd like to ask you, what is it like being a Black woman in a predominantly white male career path? Like, what is it like for you? And what are pros and cons of it? Because there obviously would be pros because you're a trailblazer and you're able to set an example for a lot of young people of color who aspire to be doing what you're doing.
I would say that it's a journey. It's every day you learn something new, or you experience something new. Early on, I would say I've gotten tough skin from the things that I've been told pretty early on. With the advisor telling me he didn't think that I could succeed. And I was actually part of this research program where I got an offer for an internship afterwards from that, and one of my coworkers told me that the only reason why I got that opportunity was because I was a minority. So, and he was a white male. So, that was something that always stuck with me. I kind of thought that I didn't have a place here, or I was just given this opportunity because of that. I didn't earn it. I didn't go through the 3-part interview process, and earn it. I thought that it was just because they needed to fill a quota. And honestly, that's something that kind of always sticks with me, even though I know, I've been told that, I have a place here and I feel like I do good work here. My work is valuable. It's still something that sticks with me. And unfortunately, I don't think that will ever go away. But it pushes me to work twice as hard and, make sure that my work is valuable. So it's kind of a double-edged sword in that way. But also you meet a ton of people who you would never think is an ally, who really support you, who will help you. Here, especially at Altair, I would say that I've never been afraid to ask for help. And I'm surrounded by so many smart people who have done so much like greatness in their career. If I would have been in like accounting, I changed my major to accounting. I don't think I would have even cared about what they were doing. Just knowing that some of the work that people have done while they were here and working on the technologies that they've created, that's what really inspires me. So, I'm always learning about something new or some new technology or, something that someone implemented that I'm working on. I didn't even know that person was the creator for it. So just things like that are really cool to me. And that's what drives me to stay in this field. I want to be the creator of something. I want to create something, groundbreaking that other people are using, decades from here. So
You said something really powerful, and it's that sense of belonging that sometimes, I think many of us, when we're in our career, sometimes there's that feeling of imposter syndrome, like, I really don't belong here, or the reason why I got here was because of a network, like someone knew someone. That's the reason why I got here. But if they really knew me, they would know that I'm not really a good fit here, or or what you said, like, I don't feel like I belong, or maybe it's just a diversity quota that's the reason why I'm here. And that could
Yeah.
be detrimental to our mental
Mm-hmm.
health, detrimental to our career, to dwell in that space. What would be your advice for those of us who are maybe suffering with imposter syndrome, suffering with feeling like I don't belong?
Well, I mean, what I say to myself is that, it's in your head. We look at our surroundings, and if we don't see anyone like us, it means that we don't belong there. And that's just not true. That's something that, I guess, as like a defense mechanism. If we don't see anything that looks familiar, it's like, get out of here, get out of here. But that it's not true. And I think that that's something that we kind of create in our head, whether it's something that's been told to us and we dwell on it, or we just look at our surroundings. But if you didn't belong here, or if you didn't have a place, I don't think that a company would waste their efforts and their resources on someone that was not capable of doing the work. So just do your best, and know that you have a place here. You wouldn't be here if you didn't.
What would be your advice for allies and for those who are looking to mentor this next generation coming up, especially people of color,
Mm-hmm.
to train them up, to make sure that they're creating an environment of belonging, an environment of inclusion, and also
Mm-hmm.
just with a mindset of, I want to raise up this next generation?
Mm-hmm. I would say be knowledgeable of that generation, or who you're mentoring. You make a special connection to someone when you know a little bit more about them and you can relate to them. And I found it really challenging, because even in robotics, like, this next generation of kids, they just want to be influencers. They want to be YouTubers, which there's nothing wrong with that. But, they see me and know that I had a YouTube channel back in the day. And, you can do both. You can be interested in STEM and, say, for instance, be, a girly girl and, like to dress up in fashion or do your makeup. That's all possible. You don't have to fit a mold to be an engineer. So just find a way to relate to them. And I think there's always some way to relate to someone, no matter what generation, what age, what ethnicity. There's always some type of common ground that you can relate to someone on. And if you have that, I think that's a good driver for inspiring someone to get into STEM, or to just mentorship purely.
Yeah, and Destiny, I was just thinking about how, Destiny and I have been chatting a lot about uh, building relationships and networking and mentorship. We've been chatting a lot about that. And
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the importance of mentorship and finding mentors, and maybe your process that you've done to seek out people to mentor
Yeah.
you, and how did you build those bridges, and
Mm-hmm.
your advice for those who maybe have never reached out to a mentor, or
Mm-hmm.
to even build that relationship.
Yeah. So mentorship for me was absolutely crucial for me to be in this field and to stay in this field. But I've always sought out mentors. I've allowed myself to be inspired by other people. If you see someone doing what you want to do, just make that connection and talk to them. And it's really just that easy. If you're allowing yourself to be inspired by someone, no matter what age they are, or, what they're doing, you can gain something from that. So I've had several mentors throughout the year, and, thank God I have enough, the people skills to approach someone and, just start that conversation. And you can even say, like, hey, I want to be where you are. How did you do it? How did you make it there? Where were some things that, you struggled with that you would, tell your younger self to make aware of. So just reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out, and go to, I've met a lot of mentors through conferences and things like that. Networking, that's a good way to gain a mentor. And just, do your research on people, and just, again, allow yourself to be inspired.
And back to the topic of mentorship, what
Mm-hmm.
are some ways that someone can foster and develop their relationship with their mentor once they find one? And how can you make
Mm-hmm.
the most out of your relationship with your mentor?
Communication is number one. Have constant communication, and I'm not saying like talk every day, but maybe schedule um, a monthly or semi-monthly like coffee date, or just like a virtual talk back and forth where you just check in and keep in contact, through email, and keep them updated on what you're going through, your struggles or your successes as well. So just keeping that window of communication open, I say would be number one. Um, and take interest in what they're doing as well. See if there's something that you can help them with, a project or a side project that they're working on, or something that you're working on that they can help you with. Just be active in what they are doing in their career, that may be able to help you as well.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I think what you just said there, like communication is so important, and it doesn't have to always be business related. It's also like you said, getting to know them personally, what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
Like that's
hmm
all. That's what human relationships are all about.
hmm Yeah, and that's how you gain that common interest, or find those common things that you both are going through, or you can agree on, that makes that connection stronger.
So I just want to
hmm
know a little bit more about your experience at Altair and
hmm
how Altair has given you the feeling that you feel included in an organic
hmm
way. And what advice would you give to people who are searching for the right fit?
I came into Altair, and like day one I was given a project, and I was just like, oh God, this is scary. I don't even know like where to start. Um, but people were so open to helping me. I was a little afraid to ask someone for help, because here I am, a new graduate. I'm fresh out of school. I should already know this stuff. It's fresh in my head, right? But I think I was told by someone, don't be afraid to ask for help. Even the person at the desk next to you, even if they're working on a different project, they'll help you. And I've learned that to be the culture of Altair in general. If you know someone is working on something, you can just walk right up to their desk, and they're open to help you. Um, so I think that is what fostered that organic, feeling in me that I belong here. I never felt like pushed away, or that I was a bother when I needed help. um and just having managers and coworkers who really foster that feeling of, you do belong here. Like I said, my manager told me he wanted me to speak up more. um, just those things. I really am blessed and grateful that I work around genuine people. And, these people have rubbed off on me in the sense that I feel like I've become a better developer, a better engineer, a better coder. I'm learning new technologies, with every project that I do. So, I'm grateful that I can have this growth and just these people that I can learn from. So I'm a very introverted person. So I used to be the type that just went to work, put on my headphones, and just tuned everyone out, and worked on my project. Sometimes I would work on projects alone, but other times I was working with someone else. But either way, I just found a way to just like be by myself. But just working around the people that you work around, they kind of bring you out of your shell. Um, even though we used to have these like nerd out sessions where we just talked about a topic that had nothing related to work. um, and I learned so much from these people just from those random topics. um, my manager has these open office hours, and I think pretty much everyone at Altair has an open door policy, where if you're going through something at all, like you can just walk into their office and talk about it, whether it's project related, life related, anything like that. So I think that's very unique that you won't find at a large company. And just I think that from just being there, I've definitely grown out of my shell a little bit. Especially with starting this ERG, I've gotten to know so many other people who I normally wouldn't talk to. Um, so yeah, I've definitely been forced out of my shell, but I am grateful for that.
What advice would you give to either a large company, small company, doesn't matter, alike,
hmm
about starting employee resource groups, and how can we spark that to happen? I feel like more organizations, especially given the current climate right now and the
hmm
events that have transpired in the past year, I feel like it's extremely important for all employees to have a safe space to go to. So what advice would you give these organizations who may or may not be thinking about creating these safe spaces?
So what sparked me, again, was that need to know that there were other people going through what I was going through. And also, I thrive on those like open discussion type things, because I feel like you learn so much from that. In college, I along with a couple of my friends started a women in power group for natural hair. It was very specific, but just knowing that there were women on campus who used to always ask me about my hair and, about my friends' hair as well. So we started like a group so that we could just talk about that. I'm a big believer in just open discussion. If the world just did more open discussion, no judgment, even though some may not be knowledgeable on the topic, you don't look down on them for that. Just that concept, I feel like will solve a lot of issues, not cause issues. Hopefully, would it? And if I can give advice to a company, I would say to just listen to your employees. Check in on your employees sometimes. Like we are affected by the world around us, and I think it's unfair to have that expectation for us to just ignore that when we come into work, especially if it's affecting us. It may not happen to us directly, but a lot of us saw our fathers, our uncles, our brothers, down there being knelt upon. So just check in on your employees. Your employees are people. They have lives, they have feelings. They're not robots that just work for you. So just recognizing that that's a need sometimes, and just hear your employees out, because even if you are a person within a company, and you feel like this is something that you need, reach out to other people to see if they're feeling the same way, because 9 times out of 10, there are a lot of people who want to support you and are feeling the same way that you are as well.
Well, Serena, I want to thank you so much for coming on Data Talk. It's some fantastic insights. Yeah. My last question, right now we're all talking about the future of work and what does work look like post-COVID as people start to returning back to the office. Many of us, I think, will be working hybrid schedules, part-time at home, part-time in the office.
Yeah.
I want to get your insights on what do you think holds for the future of diversity in tech and the future of ERGs, and maybe some of the things that you're seeing, things you'd like to see happen at companies around diversity and inclusion. If you're to 5 years from now, what would you like to see? What would be some of the things that would be very important to you?
I think these safe spaces, like we talked about earlier, I think that the companies should, I think that this will be a more common thing. This past incident has brought upon a lot of companies, expressing their commitment to diversity. If you go on a website to shop online for anything, you see a statement about diversity. And that's something that's new. I don't think I've ever seen that before in such of a mass that is happening now. So I definitely see a shift in the importance of diversity in today's times. And I think when we think about diversity in tech, I like to have this analogy that, math or just tech is very binary. It's either you got the right answer or you don't. And, I like to think that diversity or where your background come from or anything shouldn't have a play in that. If you can get the answer right, if you can solve the problem, it's either right or wrong. So I feel like just the shift will bring a more light to that, different perspectives are needed, but as long as someone can solve the problem and do the work, I think that's what is more important. It shouldn't be just white male dominated anymore. And I think that just us having this discussion right now will bring more light to that. So I'm optimistic about the future when it comes to diversity.
Fantastic. Serena, thank you so much for being on the podcast. For those that want to follow you, what are the best socials for them to connect with you on?
I would say LinkedIn. I love having conversations on there. I share a lot of posts about diversity. So you can just search me at my first and last name, Serena King. And I work at Altair, of course. So if you want to connect with me on there, I'm very open to that.
Thank you so much, Serena. You've been so insightful.
Yeah, no problem.
We really appreciate everything.
Yeah, no problem. You. This was an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Data Talk podcast. We share new shows every week, and you can find the full catalog of previous episodes, including YouTube videos, on our Experian news blog. You can get access to the full catalog by going to experian.com/datatalk. And we always love hearing from our community, so if you have any comments or suggestions for future shows or guests you'd like to hear from, please let us know. You can leave a comment on iTunes, or you can reach out to us on Twitter at Experian Data Lab. You can also email me directly. My email is michael.delgado@experian.com. Take care, and we'll chat next week.